Hey everybody, it's the Epistemologers here today, and today our topic is consciousness is multiversal. And we're going to break that up for you a little bit, but really what we're saying is there's a general consciousness, and that can be understood to be understanding many things all at the same time. And so you would have a multiversal consciousness, one that understands many possibilities and then filters that through and merges it together. Am I jumping the gun a little bit?
Man, this is going to be, it's going to be hard to approach topics like this for several reasons, one of which is that this is going to naturally be very complex. Another reason is it is not something that's very well understood in general.
It's not easy to understand.
But it is also a very interesting topic. It covers a lot of things. So the language that we pick might be really crude in trying to talk about this sort of thing.
As languages want to do.
So yeah, that'll be probably our worst thing, I hope. But we're trying to at least use our own experience to shape our ideas about what consciousness is and what it can do and how we should think of it and that sort of thing. I don't think we've done a video on consciousness yet, really.
We've touched on it, I think.
We touched on magic.
Which is related to the topic, yeah.
Well, I'd like to enter there, if I could, because a lot of people will take magic to be capturing attention. They'll say words or spells.
Yep.
And they are in the capacity that they capture attention. So music can also do the same thing. A movie can do that. Pretty much anything, any performance could do that. Explanations can do that. Memes can do that. They capture your attention that way. That's where we come up with mimetic magic. There's this old term called glamour or glam, which is the sparkly, attention-grabbing properties of something, and glamours are essentially these spells that will catch your eye and not really let go. So spell is something that you're captured in. It's attention-grabbing, so that's a common pattern, is that it captures your attention. But what I think is really happening behind that is that attention has metaphysical effects. Specifically, I think what those effects are is that it has the ability to, how do we get into this? Because I feel like I need to go back further even to talk about the universe. And you'll find corollaries between consciousness and the universe.
Yep.
And I don't think that's an accident.
No. But
if you roll it back, yeah, you were going to say?
Well,
you might be able to do a better job. We're going to have to trade off here.
Yeah. Well, so what you mean by a spell, and I think you actually mischaracterize spell. The spell is not the act of gathering attention. It's the act of gathering attention and then directing it, right? So the idea is if you have enough people focusing, even if you were to rule out sort of the metaphysical aspect, if you can get a bunch of people all focused on doing something, like, say, building a house, the Amish barn raising, they can build an entire barn in a day because there's 40 people there, and they're all working their ass off.
They can align everybody.
They can align everyone.
Everybody's and focus on the same goal.
And they can do this magical thing in building a barn, which you wouldn't think would be... you would think that would be a month or a year-long project, not a day-long project. But it's a day-long project because everyone's in line and everyone's working together. And so, if you can take people's attention and you can point it at a direction where people are concerned or worried about or doing something, you can get enough people working on something to solve an issue or do something. You see things like the protest movements getting all this energy, getting all this attention, and then you see all this, result of all of this. Sometimes there's riots, sometimes there's legal changes, there can be very different ways in that can go once you get all that attention. And that's
you can capture their energy.
Yep.
Because they have a lot of emotion towards that.
Yep.
And so they put a lot of energy into it.
Yep.
You can capture that emotion, and a lot of leadership is understood to be that.
Yeah, taking that energy
leadership
and directing
is,
it.
like capturing that energy.
And so even without the metaphysical aspect, which there is, and which we want to get into, you can still see the methods in which this is employed. Their attention can be directed at something, and they can be given a direction and can achieve something that you wouldn't think normally possible. So where the actual magic steps in is it seems very likely that not only does a person paying attention to something mean that they will act in some way, but it also seems to be that the universe is changed, or the universe can be affected with enough people paying attention to it. And we can see instances of where the universe is affected just in the placebo effect. So the placebo effect is a common thing that happens in medicine where people taking placebos, essentially sugar pills, stuff that would not affect them in any way as a control, somehow get cured of illnesses that they would normally not be cured of, because they think, oh, I'm going to be healthy. Oh, I'm going to get cured, right? And so this has long been chalked up to, well, humans are amazing and we don't exactly know what's going on. But what we're proposing is that that's not a coincidence that the placebo effect happens, not just a coincidence.
And it's not just with the drug trials.
Yeah.
It's known in other circles as the law of attraction. It's where you basically you're able to bring this you're focusing on to you.
You're able to manifest
You're able to attract them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I see it, since I'm come from more of a science background, I come at it from quantum physics, and the experiments of quantum physics do tend to get caught up in varying interpretations. One of which I think maybe the most popular interpretation is a very subjective one that makes it look as though these experiments we're running put the observer in a very key spot in the universe. The observer looks like they're affecting the result of the experiment and affecting the universe just by the fact they're observing. And I actually think philosophically, this is not the direction that we should take. It's confusing. Subjective interpretations are fine, but at best, they approximate the objective at best. And at worst, they add a bunch of baggage that we just need to explain away. So if we are looking at quantum experiments as an objective thing, as a deterministic thing, and by deterministic, I'm taking it from computer science. It's basically like when the result of the experiment is always going to be the same, and no matter how many times you run it, it'll be the same result. If you change the initial conditions and the structure of the experiment, you'll get a different result, but that'll always be the same too. And that you get this appearance of randomness. But the strange thing is that with things like quantum interference, it looks as though we're dealing with particles that can be in multiple positions at the same time, or other things that can be in multiple states at the same time, and they call that superposition. And so from the perspective of the observer, it looks like this state of it being in multiple positions at the same time is destroyed when you observe it. That's what it looks like. Mm-hmm. So they call that waveform collapse. But the waveform collapse doesn't actually happen objectively. It's not actually happening. It's just a result of how it looks from the perspective of the observer. And this is an example of baggage. It's noise. It's there to be explained away. And it's the same math either way. We use the same equations to describe what's going to happen. But the deterministic version of it, the objective version of it, is that there's more than one timeline where you have this particle that was in this position in this timeline and that position in the other timeline. So we're dealing with a universe that has many, many timelines. And each of these timelines is essentially an observable universe, or at least a series of observable universes, each moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. But everything is static and unchanging. They're perfectly described by the laws of physics, the objective laws of physics. And the whole structure is like a crystal. It's like doesn't move. It's just many, many timelines diverging and converging and diverging again. And this is the playground that consciousness plays with. Consciousness is able to choose at a metaphysical level which timeline to pay attention to, which timeline to focus on, which timeline to experience. And that, I think, explains things like the placebo effect and the law of attraction.
So to sum up, what we're proposing is that we have a multitude, we have many different universes that each universe is a moment in time. Time does not exist inside of a classical universe only consists of one moment, the smallest increment of time that you can possibly imagine. And so time is a product of your consciousness superseding or existing throughout this multitude of universes, right? And as time progresses, your consciousness is sort of merging them all together, making a cohesive unit out of many different things.
I do think, though, that cause and effects happen.
Yeah.
Sort of domino chains happen irrespective of consciousness in the universe at large.
Well, I think that depends
but
on
consciousness stitches it together to create this sort of illusion of the flow of time, or the experience of the flow of time.
I think that depends on the scope of the of consciousness that you're looking at. A cause and effect chain would be like a domino. The idea of a tree falling in the forest. If no one's there to observe it, then does it make a sound? The answer is of course, because the scope of consciousness we haven't defined. It's not necessarily a singular person. It can be the scope of the entire universe. And so the cause of effect change could just be the fact that there is a consciousness that exists throughout every particle. And so that is that is gone. But you could see the actors or the people within consciousness could have some give or take, right? But,
well, that's the thing, because we have a universe that has many, many timelines, and it ends up fractalizing out from the is that a word, fractalize? It's a fractal, basically, off of the laws of physics, and therein you get various kinds of objects, some of which are like avatars. They're like vehicles for consciousness in a way. So we get these avatars, and for all these avatars, all these conscious entities throughout the universe, consciousness is able to manifest there and make use of that entity's knowledge, if there is that. So you might have local memories.
I think that there is possibly we're dealing with something that is we need to define, that is a consciousness that can affect the greater consciousness of everything. See what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Well, the greater consciousness is, I think by and large, it's the universe itself.
Yeah.
But yes, they're related. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like, if you want to just get into how they're related, we could do that.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
But I think it's scoped down. I think consciousness is scoped down once it steps into an avatar.
Yeah, our consciousness is scoped down, But I'm saying I think we need another term for an individual consciousness, right? For an individual agent, right? We have the idea.
Are said to have souls.
Yeah.
In that
soul.
Is that closer? I mean.
Yeah, it's
spirits,
closer.
Basically, a spirit is an autonomous, let's say, a consciousnss that can inhabit an avatar.
Sure.
Essentially, it's what the ancients referred to when they're talking about consciousness. I actually think that that culture, 12,000 years ago or something, understood consciousness better than us, and we've been struggling to sort of get a clear picture of this, just because we live in sort of a fake society.
Well, but I think it's possible we may have traded an understanding of the physical for an understanding of the physical from
material.
Yeah, the material from the metaphysical, right? From the spirit.
We've definitely, if that's one thing about our rulers, is that they vastly prefer the material.
Yeah.
And so we specialize in that. And so I think this is why things like computers and art is amazing these days. I was just thinking about that the other day, because our ability to create special effects in movies is amazing, and a lot of artists are doing amazing work. I think it's possible that
let's save that.
It's
for
hard
another...
to find work that's that good.
Let's save that for another topic.
But my point is that knowledge isn't linear, and we've been specializing in material things, especially things that capture attention, because that's the way the empire rolls.
Well, that's the way that it is understood that you can gather attention to affect the overall way things work. But
they want all of our timelines that we're focusing on to feature their empire.
I think
because that will preserve its fate. It will preserve as long as we put all of our attention into imperial concepts,
as long
like royalty,
as long as humans
and idols.
As long as our population can't see a world without an elite class of aristocracy that rule over us, then the elite class is safe, right? If we suddenly all decide that, you know what, these what we term elite people aren't really that special, they're screwed. There's no aristocracy.
It's possible that they're just it's just the emperor's clothes at that point.
Yeah.
And this is the metaphysical foundations of their empire.
Yeah.
So they're able to prop up the whole thing because we're all thinking in the way that they want.
Right.
And the moment they lose control of the narrative that shapes the way we think, the moment that starts crumbling from the bottom.
And I think
they have a big pyramid.
I think there's a lot of hope in the fact that the information age has kind of gotten people to see through a lot of things, and I think we're starting to see those break up more. That sort of idea that the aristocrats or the celebrities are somehow better than us or more than us is starting to go away, and you can see this at just how little weight the Bill Nye the Science Guys and the celebrities have in terms of influencing how politics goes. It certainly didn't work in 2016.
Celebrity scientists.
Yeah. It certainly didn't work in 2016 to have every single celebrity come out against Trump, but then he still won. So that idea of aristocracy is losing its grip.
And even advertisement is losing its grip.
As we've talked about.
It used to, just a couple decades ago, it was
easy.
They would be able to put a 30-second spot in front of our face and plant this idea that we want to buy this thing.
Yep.
Whatever it is. For whatever reason. Like, it looks so good on TV or whatever.
Low information.
And for whatever reason, that was our view on it, without really knowing too much about anything on it. We just saw it as, I've heard of this product. Why don't I buy this? I haven't heard of this other product. So just product placement. All these techniques are failing these days. Marketing is in a tailspin.
So that
trying to find something that sticks.
So that glamour and that attention grabbing is kind of losing its luster. We're not seeing that attention grabbing quite as great as it was, and it's moving somewhere else. So the paradigm is shifting. I think this is
this emphasis on viral marketing.
I think this is a good place.
Can we get into that for just a second?
Okay. Well, how about we do it as another topic?
The viral marketing thing?
Viral marketing.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's fine.
All right. Well, we were the Epistemologers. Don't forget to hit the like button. Comment about how you think consciousness works, and hit the like thing.